Hi everyone, delonewolf here. Welcome to EVE Online and welcome to our still secret wormhole where my brother and myself are having our adventures. So yesterday we were in a pretty interesting situation because we had 0 combat sites spawn in the wormhole. This meant that we could not make any money. We had no K162 entrances, so we couldn't visit the neighbors either, and our entrance was quite remote, so no chance to do any logistics. Our only option would have been to intentionally collapse the wormhole so that we could see where the new one would get us and see if anything was to be had there. But we decided against it, and so it was just a very quiet evening in EVE Online. This does, however, give me the opportunity to answer some of the questions that were asked in the comments of the previous video. So first of all, someone asked why I'm flying this prophecy and not something like a Drake or an Ishtar. Now about the Ishtar, I have to say I did do this for a little bit. I have flown an Ishtar in a C1 wormhole, and you have to be very careful because an Ishtar is still a cruiser with a much smaller capacitor than a battle cruiser, and I've actually had the sleepers completely suck my capacitor dry. And in fact, the only thing that saved my Ishtar at that point was the presence of my brother, who could still help me dispatch those neuting drones. And yep, it's very risky. A cruiser, even a Tech 2 cruiser, is still vulnerable even in a C1 wormhole. Now the reason why I'm flying this prophecy is because it has a very nice bonus to its resistances, and in fact thanks to that its armor is a little bit OP for a C1. It just makes all of these sites quite trivial. They can't completely drain my prophecy from capacitor. That means I can run the armor repair indefinitely, and with the extra resistances I just repair way more than the sleepers can ever throw at me, and so in the prophecy it just makes these sites easy mode, which is why I'm flying it. The next question that was asked was if this system where my brother seems to be getting 70 to 80% of the aggro from the sleepers because he's using a web could be used to help safeguard your drones. Unfortunately, I think the answer to that is no. You can see one of my hobgoblins has some armor damage. This is when I try to solo one of the sites. It was no problem. The prophecy is more than capable of soloing any C1 site. But sleepers have this mechanic where they will switch from time to another target. Now if you're alone with drones, the only thing they can switch to are your drones. So the fact that you are a little bit higher on the threat list because you use a web or an ECM is not going to change that behavior. When they switch, they will switch to one of your drones, and then you have to be very careful. So unfortunately the answer is no. You can't use what seems to be a higher threat with electronic warfare to safeguard your drones. Those switches will happen anyways, and especially if you're alone, they will switch to your drones regardless. The final question was if I could talk a little bit about what it took for us to get into this wormhole and what kind of preparations we've done so that new players know what they're in for if they try and do something like these wormhole adventures. So I would say, first of all, put your minimum requirements at something like a battle cruiser with Tech 2 fittings. I do think in order to be comfortable in the wormhole and be able to enjoy your extended stay in the wormhole, you need to be able to run these sites without any real risks, and that does, in my opinion, require a battle cruiser with Tech 2 fittings. The second thing is you will actually have to try to find a good wormhole for you to start your adventures in. We've actually found an interesting wormhole when we first started the Wormhole Diaries Season 2. There was a boss in there, but it looked like it might be a very interesting one because activity had died down quite a lot, and so we thought maybe there would be an opportunity for us to move into that wormhole. Unfortunately, as the series progressed, activity increased in the wormhole, and in fact now there are 2 bosses in there, and it looks like 2 parties are actively fighting over control of that wormhole. So we definitely decided it was time to go look for another one. This was actually several months ago, so I've done a lot of high-sec exploration where I would check out pretty much every wormhole that I would find. If it was a C1 or a C2, I would quickly jump in, check the boss situation, check for activity, check for recent kills, try to gauge activity and the presence of someone living in the wormhole, just to hope to find that one where there was no real sign of activity and where we could start our adventures in some peace and quiet. It is in fact by pure chance several months later that my brother found the current wormhole we are in. When he scanned it, there were no active puzzles, which is of course a great sign, and there are not a lot of those out there anymore. Activity seemed very low, and when we found it, we just said to ourselves that we could not let this opportunity go to waste. So we immediately jumped into our wormhole battle cruisers, came here and started our adventures. So yeah, you have to keep in mind that you will need to do a good amount of exploration, put in quite some effort in order to try and find this wormhole where you can do some adventures, especially if you're a new player, because yeah, they're pretty rare. There's a lot of people in wormhole space at the moment. Another thing that I would also suggest is that you talk to your friends or your corp mates that have the same idea or the same ambition, and make some preparations as well, especially your ship. If it's a battle cruiser, you know, prepare that, have that fitting ready, so that when one of you guys do find that wormhole that looks suitable for you guys to give it a go, that you can just jump in your ships and get started on some wormhole living. After that, it's just a matter of, is it indeed the correct wormhole? Are we able to sustain ourselves a little bit in there? Then you can consider moving in a boss, moving in some guns, maybe a corp hanger and things like that. That will cost you some ISK, but on that, you know, everyone can have their own philosophy. The way we're going about it at the moment is the money we make in the wormhole is money we reinvest in the wormhole as well, in maybe a boss or extra ships or things like that. But that's completely up to you. But yes, if new players have the ambition to do this, I would say first of all, train for a battle cruiser with Tech 2 fittings. Secondly, start looking for that right wormhole early enough. And if you're going to do this with a few friends, have your ship ready and fitted, so that when you do come across that wormhole that looks perfect for you guys, you can move in right away and get started on your adventures. Have your plan ready, and you can definitely have a lot of fun that way. Once you have something like 1 or 2 guys that can field these battle cruisers, maybe you can consider battle cruisers with Tech 1 fittings to come in there as well. But yeah, definitely that minimum requirement, I feel very strongly about that. Anyways, that's it guys. Not a lot of action in the wormhole, but I do hope that some of these explanations can help some of the newer players out as well. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.